I'm Wretched, this is Library of Ruina, and we have a lot to do today. So many invites to do, so many books to burn, so many abnormality fights that we have to do. We have a character interaction that we have to get done with Tiferath's floor. We're going to read all the credenzas because this is a Project Lore build, and you clicked on this knowing full well that was the title. I hope you weren't fooled by any of what I just said. And if you were, ha! I feel a little bad, but not that bad, because I want to know about this stuff. People were saying I need to do this more often, especially since we start learning a lot of really cool stuff about the city and about the different people that we have already interacted with and some that we have yet to interact with in Star of the City. I'm still back in like the urban plague stuff, so it'd be kind of stupid of me to continue on with the story without knowing what's going on in the background. And if you remember the last Project Lore build that we did, we stopped at Oink's page. So we're done with the Musicians of Bremen, we're moving into the Wedge office, which means that we're almost out of Urban Plague and into Urban Nightmare, which feels like forever ago. I think probably because it was. But it's still interesting to read all of what they have to say because we've already seen a lot of who they are talking about. And now I don't have to go back and like remember, oh my God, I remember reading a credenza about this thing happening. And now I have to piece it all back together in my mind. This way, we already have all of the players. We already know who they're talking about. Now I can just kind of fill in all the details. And I think this is actually a really good way to do it. So I'm probably going to do a few more Project Lore builds sooner rather than later. That way we can get caught up. But then I'll probably take another little break from them to let the story progress further. This feels way better when I was reading along with the story. And Oscar makes my point perfectly. The 8 o'clock circus. I would have no clue when I unlocked Oscar what the 8 o'clock circus was. No clue who Oswald was or what the creepiness that was yet to unfold would entail. And they're still major players. I don't know what happened to the mermaid or Mr. Knifey or whatever. I do know that Oswald has a blue suit, or the suit with the blue emblem on it, which I don't know what the emblem means or what it is. Unless it's nothing more than someone has like a magic embroidery machine and they embroider that kind of stuff and it uses magical thread and that improves its durability or it ramps up your power or drives you insane. I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past Blue and his merry band of mad men. But we're not talking about that right now. Or maybe we are. I don't know. We're talking about whatever's in the credenza before I get off on a major tangent. That's another reason why... One more tangent. Hold on. Brain, calm down a second. But, okay. That's another reason why I like doing these credenzas, is because we can talk about stuff that my brain just kind of flies off the handle and just like, wait, what about this thing? And then I don't feel so bad. I don't have to cut it out of all of the ramblings that I normally cut out when I'm actually going through the story. Because otherwise, the videos would all be 2 hours and something minutes long because my brain and mouth don't shut up ever. And this gives me a chance to like vomit that out at you because there's a lot of things that I bring up during the credenzas that I was thinking during the story, but I can't include it because it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why my brain thought that thing that it was thinking then. But now I can mention it now because my brain thinks it now, and this is okay. I'm sorry, I got too much sleep last night. Oscar's page says,
the 8 o'clock circus was a real sod of a case. Its leader wasn't a particularly powerful enemy, but it took a long time to assess the strengths and behaviors of each of his crew. There was no specific pattern to it, and it was difficult to predict what would come next. It was akin to watching an erratic circus of lunacy. Their lair was mysterious and terrifyingly bleak. And the crew took hideous forms as well, looking too grotesque to possibly be considered normal living beings. They were as strong as they looked. When the blob shaped like a lion bit Pamela with its blunt teeth, her body quite literally blew up on the spot.
oh my God, could you imagine? She didn't survive that, but she came back from that. Does she remember it? These are questions that I probably don't want answers to, and I'm assuming she doesn't remember that. Because it sounded like... No, hold on. No, they had her head. Her head was intact. So they just took head, took out brain, made a clone of Pamela, and slapped in Pamela's brain into Pamela. Quite literally, just opened her up like a tin can and like shoveled the goopy bits into another empty can. So she would remember this. Or at least she would remember everything up until the point that she exploded. I would assume. Maybe even death. Does she remember death? Oh man, we might get a first-hand glimpse to what Pamela perceived in her final moments. I kind of want to jump ahead to that right now, but I have more Oscar I have to read, so I'm going to rush through this one because I want to see, and then I'll talk about all the stuff that I was going to talk about before that. Oscar continues.
However, our enemies were slowly brought down from the vantage point, and when they were completely cornered, the leader escaped along with a few of his crew. Even though he couldn't put an end to the case, we decided to prioritize recovering Pamela's body, as we deemed the circus would be weakened enough to stay low for a while. As we stored Pamela's head in a stasis preservation case and headed to the exit of the collapsing circus tent, we ran into a group of fixers. They seemed rather exhausted after fighting a swarm of the crew outside. I suppose that's why they couldn't enter the tent until that moment. It's not uncommon for 2 or more offices of fixers to be present at the scene of a finished case. So I gently nodded to greet them, identifying ourselves as fixers of Wedge Office who have come here to solve the case. The shortest person among them, the aged-looking woman who appeared to be the representative of that group, looked around the circus tent, let out a deep sigh, and introduced herself as Moses of Moses Office, while smoking from her pipe. Moses then started thinking, presumably ruminating over what words to choose. She must have taken a request that's rather tricky to disclose. The 2 people behind her, nervously exchanging glances with each other, appeared to be her bodyguards of some sort. Having such trivial thoughts, I waited for this Moses person to resume speaking. After a brief period of silence, Moses breathed out smoke in the other direction and asked me where the leader of the circus went. Since I didn't know much better than them, I told them what I could in brief. They seemed troubled by my unhelpful answer, but they soon accepted it and left the scene. That group reportedly appears every time a case of distortion is solved. They're allegedly working as the distortion detective, but recent witnesses of their appearance were always followed with a distortion case in the same location. While it's unclear whether they're involved in this case, I believe there's enough reason to be wary of them.
They're hired by Blue. I called it. I call it right now. Dibs on the theory that they're hired by Blue to go, or Pluto, one of the people working with Blue, to go and investigate the areas where distortions may or may not occur. And that's how Pluto knows when to be in a spot at any one time. They also could be just Pluto dressed up. It could be. Moses could be Blue. Moses could be Tanya. She was smoking a pipe. Tanya smokes a pipe. In almost every scene that we've seen Tanya is definitely the informant for Blue and Pluto. And Pluto's job is to go in and find things or people or whatever that's going to turn into a distortion so that they can be collected and put on a shelf for Blue in case of rainy day, smash glass, open up, fill up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's what is happening. that this group seems to be reported everywhere a distortion level event is. They're not really helping, and they always show up after everything is kind of all hit the fan. So that tells me that they're not actually there to fix any of the problems. They're there to investigate for themselves. And who knows? They might actually just be regular people, but they have been hired by Blue to achieve something. Pamela's page says,
Life insurance for fixers is often a sham! A lot of them take your money never to give it back. Even if you terminate your insurance, they won't. It's not easy for your damage to be insured either. You have to be at death's door to qualify. Pretty much. The chances are as low as winning the lottery. And what if you just up and died? What can the dead do with money? You'll be much better off making a savings account for an augment procedure or quality workshop gear. I was a very lucky case. Keep in mind that this isn't the normal at all. Insurance can sometimes be useful depending on its form and conditions, sure. But if you take the pay into account, it still doesn't feel too great. Yeah, I wanted to hear about Heaven's Gates, or the lack of. I wanted to hear about the excruciating last moments, or maybe like the feeling of warmness as it passes over you, as you move from this horrible plane of existence into a more peaceful existence somewhere else. Or I want to hear about the giant roulette wheel that you have to spin, and that's what you get reincarnated as, and she was in the middle of spinning and it didn't quite land yet, and she got wrenched back. Or maybe she didn't experience any of that because they got to her fast enough and like shot her with a stasis ray. They're like, kapow! And she was fine. So she didn't experience the dying part because she didn't go through the dying part. She just stopped. Which tells me that is definitely probably like a T-Corp thing. A stasis ray or stasis... what did they say? Stasis something. They threw her in a stasis containment field inside of, I don't know, a box, a jar. Head in a jar makes sense to me. Of course, that's from other cartoons and shows that I've seen. Pamela has more to say. You died, Pamela! You should, if anyone should be writing a journal, it's you. Please, I need to know more. I'm a little disappointed. If I'm not going to lie to myself or you, I am very disappointed. I can't believe Pamela left us like that. I mean, she literally left us hanging. There is so much that she could have made crap up, and I would have believed it. Of course, for the credenza, it's all truth, though, isn't it? Because we're literally reading the book that is them. I'll move on. I've got a lot of credenzas I want to cover, and some of what I have to say is important, some of it really just isn't. It's just to, like, fascinate myself and ask silly questions that some people may have the answers to. Because I always love it when I'm, like, thinking about a bunch of stuff, and people are like, oh, no, you just gotta wait because it's coming up. It's either in this book that you're gonna read in the future, because I will, or it's in this game, like Limbus Company, that you're gonna play in the future. And I'm like, oh, that means I gotta wait. But it makes me feel good that the answer's out there and that people know what the actual answer is. So people can be thinking about it. So I always love seeing those comments. They're like, it's just wait. It's coming. It's gonna be there. You're gonna enjoy it when you see it, or you won't. But we're gonna enjoy it when you see it. I love that comment too. Like, oh, just wait. We're gonna have a good time. You might not, but this is gonna be good. Back to what I was doing before. Pamela's page says, basically speaking, people who visit our office are looking for shrewd and precise situational assessment rather than combat prowess. The ability to make quick calculations for various possible scenarios and neutralize or kill the enemy with the least effort. We are hunters of the city. We pierce the requests we get with swiftness and precision. Of course, our office isn't perfect in every regard, so we're in partnership with a number of other offices. Fixer offices often request others for help when reinforcements or professional aid in specific areas is needed. In the case of our office, we were sister offices with Dawn office, sharing more information than we did with most other partners. Oscar is good friends with Salvador, the man running that office, with a fine mustache. And they've known each other for quite some time. But there's more to this sisterhood than that.
Oh. I see. So they get all their information from the pillow talk then? My guess they were a thing. But why not just make it public? And why not just merge the two offices then? I think probably because the more offices you have, the more jobs that you can, like, net. Because otherwise, people will just be making one request at a time for that one office. Whereas, if they can pay multiple offices, you kind of trick them by having more than one, like, storefronts. See what I'm saying? Or more opportunities for people by having more locations. So you'll get all the people in this region where, like, the Wedge office is, and then all the people in this region where all the Dawn office is. And Oscar and Salvador can, like, share all the profits together anyway. Unless they're not filing joint on their taxes or whatever, because we heard taxes are a thing in the city. That's why I bring that up. Because then maybe they get separate. Oh, it's for tax evasion purposes. It's for tax evasion purposes. Because each one of them is running their own separate business. Since they're not filing joint, I don't know taxes enough to, but this makes sense. Just listen. Don't do this on your own personal taxes, but listen. They are running separate businesses so each one can have their own separate write-offs. Because that's a thing taxes are for, or are due, or whatever. They have their own write-offs, so they'll have their own benefits for having their own offices. That's gotta be what it is, and that's why it's a big secret that they're an item. Or not. Maybe I'm just fabricating a useless nonsense that no one cares about. But either way, in my brain, that makes total sense, and I'm happy to think about it. The Wedge office excels at analyzing the capabilities of foes, and Dawn office specializes in combat, so it's only natural that we go well together. I guess, yeah, but no, they're dating. It's got to be confirmed somewhere, or not confirmed somewhere. Great, now we have all the others. So this is all, it seems like the others are mainly just general invites, but not always. I've also seen, I think it was in Urban Legends. I've seen in others, no, these were all the general invites too. Okay, so all of the others are actually just all the general invites. My bad. So let's read through these. These seem like they're going to be pretty quick. There's usually not a lot of info. Yeah, not a lot of info in any of the general invite stuff. It just kind of gives you like a brief summary of either the character who you fought, like Chikan, Hanafuda, Bamboo-Headed Kim, I think was one. Or it gives you a little bit of background into like sections of the back streets so far. Eventually, we might run into information about nests and things like that, but I'm assuming that that won't happen until we get like into the top tier fixers who would be associated with those kinds of things. Like if we run into R-Corp or just R-Corp representatives or fixers or whatever, I'm not sure if they're actually called fixers. Agents. They would be agents or nuggets like us. I had agents. When we run into them, we'll be learning a little bit more information about R-Corp stuff, because I'm assuming we're going to have to fight those. People kind of spoiled it a little bit in the comments. I do my best trying not to read all of the like spoilery comments, but I try to read every comment, so sometimes I can't help but to see it. But that's okay, because it wasn't a big secret. I knew that they were here, and I could have guessed that we were eventually going to have to fight them. I need Rabbit Lady. What is her name? For the love of God, brain. Sink deep into the depths of the recesses of the corners and the cracks and crevices of my mind. Mio! Ah! It's Mio, isn't it? I think it's Mio. It's Rabbit Lady. I should Google that. So I know. No, I won't Google it because I don't want to be disappointed. I remembered. Even if I'm wrong, I remembered. Her name is Mio, and she's adorable and very hot-blooded. And there's times where her eyes turn red and scare me. I love her character. What was I doing? Chakan's page. The Rusted Chains ain't the biggest syndicate, but each member's got strength to boot in boast. The only weapon we use is the spiky chains. Why? Why do they only use barbed wire as weapons? Why do they like to make themselves bleed? Is it a pleasure thing? It might be a pleasure thing. If it's a pleasure thing, that's fine. I'm not judging, but why mix work and pleasure? You should keep those separate. Although I guess if you enjoy what you do for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. Tie 'em, smack 'em, anything goes. We got to be careful not to get swung or swayed around, or bind ourselves with our own metal. My body's full of scars thanks to that. But hey, it's not too bad, is it? Yeah, they're definitely into that kind of thing. That's gotta be what it is. Otherwise, why? Why would you risk it? Because again, yes, if you fight anything that is metallic or does not bleed, you are screwed. Like, actually screwed. Actually, because they will grab those things. And they're bound to your arms. Unless you're cutting your arms off or you have, like, eject buttons, you're stuck. And they don't have eject buttons because look at how dinged up and scarred up they are. That actually does not sound like a good time to me. I don't know why they're using these. Rusted chains. And look, those are actual arms. Those aren't metal arms. They actually are using those just wrapped around, and they've got like some bandages or something underneath to like soften the blow of using them. It seems kind of stupid. If it was like a whip and it's not tied to you and you can like let go, it would make sense to me. An actual whip of barbed wire would be kind of an effective weapon. Of course, here's the other thing. If you are hitting fleshy things that won't die in like 1 or 2 hits, because again, they don't sink to any vital points. This is death by 1,000 cuts. They're gonna get lodged into fleshy bits. So you're gonna get stuck to these. You have to be so strong to rip them out every single time. And if you're that strong, then you don't have to worry about them getting tied up, dinged up, or whatever, because you could probably just snap your own barbed wire whip thing. Your torture chamber that you've got yourself tied in. It just seems a little silly to me. I'm just saying. Not the whole, like, hurting themselves in order to make themselves stronger thing. I can get behind that. But the whole idea that they would effectively tie themselves to their enemy, where they would be at a disadvantage, that seems silly. The world in the city is bad enough without giving yourself a disadvantage. Make something that's like super strong. Get a workshop barbed wire kit, so that as it tears away at your flesh, it heals your vitals. It heals you. It injects you with adrenaline or something. Get yourself some breakaway barbed wire so that you still have the cool aesthetic. And if you're, again, if they're into that kind of thing, you still get the pokey bits, but it breaks away if you get all tied up somehow. I'm just saying, just putting that out there. There is a better way to go about this, and it just confuses me that they choose to do it this way. But maybe the next one will explain it a little bit more.
Bah! Every part of my body's aching. Cloudy bastards. Why are they picking at us so much? We've taken some serious damage on our side. Heard the blade lineage is also got messed up. But any news? Heard our boss is gonna go out and talk to him. If boss is going alone, won't that be dangerous?
The other side's also only sending their top dog or whatevs. No need to worry about the boss.
Right. They're weaklings individually. That's why they like to move in packs.
Yeah, but unfortunately for you, the boss went to the library and is never seen again. A workshop affiliated fixers page. Just a workshop, by the way, not a specific workshop. I originally, when I saw this, I thought maybe workshop was the title of the workshop because it's capitalized. But I'm beginning to think maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just some random workshop. But that's what I would do if I ran a workshop in the city. I would name mine Workshop. There would be no confusion to what I did. And anytime that someone tried to Google it or tried to search it on the interwebs, they would see it. Even if they were looking for one of my competitors, they would see my workshop because it's my name that they're Googling. Anyway, besides the marketing campaign that needs to be conducted in the city, along with many study groups to figure out if that is actually effective or not, there is a page that I must read. In the city, there are as many workshops as there are unique gadgets, and the Trace Association is the one responsible for managing those workshops in general. It reviews newly designed weapons, files applications to the head, and charges taxes for them. You can't use the weapons that haven't passed their evaluation. Getting a rejection from them basically means they see the weapon as something that shouldn't be used in this city. They aren't too cold about it, though. They sometimes send the applicants feedback about how they can improve their designs to a passable level. Not that we need it, since our latest weapon passed on the first try. It's very interesting, though, that an association actually heads that up. That it's not one of the wings that does it. But it passes on that information, and I guess trace would be 3 in Spanish, right? Or is that tra or tre in a different language? I'm thinking it's like the 3rd association. And we've seen there's a Hana, and then there's we saw the 2. I forget which one that one was, but we saw that one. So this is the 3rd one. So we're filling out my index cards of all of the different associations. And it seems like this one does not do combat, does not do defense. It actually handles all of the patent and like fees and taxes for the head. This is actually just like a bureaucratic association. This is like the main offices. That's kind of cool. That, you know, that there is someone out there that is mainly focused on pushing paperwork. It boggles my mind, again, how they separate everything out. They have one whole association devoted to war and combat on a large scale, like the Leo Association. Then they have the Hana Association, which is responsible for organizing every other association into its representative number, group, category, and like letter or whatever. That is an association which rules over all the other associations, basically. Then you've got ones that focus on defense. We now have ones that are paper pushers, and bureaucracy and red tape. So if you specialize in red tape, come on down and apply to the Trace Association. We have a home for you. It's a small cramped desk in a corner in the dark, but it is your home from this moment on. I'm assuming they don't have the, well, maybe they do. Hold on. In a city where death is the #1 commodity, weapons of destruction, tools to accomplish that destruction, or like other tools for like everyday stuff, that would all be big money, you know, armor and stuff like that. So maybe they're really highly funded, this Trace Association. Yeah, maybe I am wrong about that. This could be one of the biggest incomes in the city. And if that's the case, you would want this association to be well funded, these people to be well taken care of. I guess it would really be kind of high demand jobs too. So it'd be hard probably to get into this association, because you would really have to have a certain level of intelligence or a certain tolerance to boredom to push paperwork all day. I'm just saying. I maybe if there was like you get a break every so often, you can go run around a little bit, maybe I can do that, but otherwise I gotta get up and move every once in a while. I'm not sure that I could sit at a desk and just push paperwork. Not like that. Okay, honestly, that's probably the most interesting thing that I've seen so far in this list of credenzas. But maybe Hanafuda will have something better. In the nest of gambling. What? In the nest It's actually the nest of gambling. Is that the G Corp? Oh my God. There's got to be like a Vegas thing, right? Like a Las Vegas. And anyone who doesn't know what Las Vegas is, I'm not sure that anyone wouldn't know, but anyone that doesn't know, it's a city that specializes in gambling and like providing all of the extravagancies that you could ever want. If there's luxury, it's there. Supposedly. I don't know. I've been there one time, but I didn't get like the Vegas experience. I traveled through it on my way somewhere else. So I've heard that it's absolutely bonkers. If you've got enough money, that you can find pretty much anything there. So that basically explains what I'm assuming that this corporation and this nest is all about. There's places where you can gamble and money exchanges hands. Hundreds of games take place every day, the humans leaving as winners or losers. Some admit their defeat, while others try to make a scene and escalate it into a violent mess. It's the job of offices like ours to monitor the gaming between individuals or organizations, verify the results, and prevent situations from turning violent. Oh my God! This is like Vegas security. Like a casino security officer. That's who Hanafuda is. And it makes sense then why everything is card related. I always wondered what he meant by, you know, it's bottom deal? I think it's bottom deal or like bottom dealing or something is one of his passives. Anyone who doesn't know about cards, I do know a little bit about playing cards and stuff like that, but if you're dealing off the bottom of the deck, you're cheating in order to get a card that you have purposely placed on the bottom of the deck. Anytime you need that specific card to make a good hand in poker, you just grab that card off the bottom of the deck while, you know, there's multiple tricks to get that to happen the right way. But normally you try to feign that you're going to grab the top card in some way, some hand movement to make it look like you grabbed the top card, but you grabbed the bottom card with one of your other fingers and spat that one out instead. And if you move your hand fast enough, it looks like you're dealing from the top of the deck. Hanafuda's passives suggest that they definitely are associated with casinos and casino work. That is so cool to me. That they thought all of that out, created Hanafuda, made Hanafuda the head of security at some large casino, or maybe the head of all casinos, because it's, I guess, the nest associated with gambling. But they gave Hanafuda this crazy backstory. And instead of explaining any of it, they just dumped it in the credenza. So if you don't read about the credenzas, if you skip over all of this and you don't read about Hanafuda at all, you will miss everything. Not only will you miss knowing that there is a legalized gambling circuit, there are games that are developed for gambling, the winning and losing of money. And there is legalized gambling, and it's all well controlled in the city, which there would be. It's human nature to like gamble on things sometimes. But you would also miss that Hanafuda is a big part of that, and that they are part of the security team, and they like head it up or something. At least an office associated with that. So that's so crazy. That's so much effort that they put in to reward people who take the time to go through and read about all of the different characters. And if other people aren't interested in it, they're not going to bore you with the details. That's so cool. The more and more that I go through Library of Ruina, and what I did with Lobotomy, and all the comments of people explaining all of the stuff that they know is actually a thing. It blows my mind how much effort that they put into this, and it's phenomenal. I really haven't seen a game where the lore is so well crafted and so well connected as Project Moon Games lore. How do they have time for this and to run a successful restaurant? Ham, pang, pang. Man, some people are just, they're talented. I wish I had half of the talent that anyone working on this game or any of the other games had. This is incredible. There are naturally a lot of offices that handle this kind of work. Most of them being affiliated with the Ofi, or Woofy? Woofy? I don't know. I think that's supposed to be like Wiffy. Because that seems very French to me, but, you know, the 2 dots up top. But I could be wrong. The 2 dots on top of vowels are pretty common in a lot of different languages. So whatever that's supposed to be, I'm sorry, but I got it wrong. Ours included, but apparently Hanafuda is in a smaller office associated with this association. And now I know that this one even exists, and that's what they do. Whenever a game happens with something at stake, a go-between needs to be there to prove that the results were legitimate. Given the sheer number of games, we're short-handed sometimes. They're just gambling left and right. I guess. It makes sense, because how else would you liven up the city without games and like high stakes? Or at least some stakes. Because yeah, a game can be fun if it's just mundane and idle. But I've never found myself, and maybe this is just me, but I've never found myself playing a game and really enjoying it when there isn't some form of risk involved. You know, it doesn't have to be my own personal risk. It could be the risk of the character you're playing. Like Elden Ring, the risk is death. You take the wrong turn, you die. Back to Zhang's office. I got off on a major tangent again. I do apologize. Most residents in Nest J are relying on a special entity. And special entity? Is it Hanafuda? Or is it someone else? I can't talk about it much, but it's like the fortune readings others sometimes see. It predicts the events that'll happen to you during a year, like an annual fortune, and gives opinions on immediate matters. It never gives a direct solution to your problems, though. It's up to you to make your choices, but I can't deny that it has a strong influence on your decisions. This is the nest of gambling. You hear all sorts of noise daily. It almost drives you mad. Gunshots and screams aren't exactly swell to wake up to. Those sounds used to wake me up every day, but not anymore. The person living in room 1829 vanished after losing a bet a week ago and saw him carrying a large coffin out of room 1831 yesterday. Oh, they lost bets that they couldn't pay for. I'm assuming that they gambled on their life and they lost. Don't do that. Don't do that. And now I know it's JNet or J Corp. Or yeah, Nest J. That would be associated with J Corp. I'm almost positive. So that means that what is G Corp then? Is that the garbage corporation that handle all of the city's garbage? Because if you think about it, the infrastructure of the city with this many people confined to this small of a space has to have a way to deal with their garbage. It's kind of interesting. It definitely shows that there are some pretty high stakes. What else do I glean from this? Oh, yeah, the entity. I completely glossed over that. So apparently they have a singularity, which is sort of similar to an abnormality, which is, I guess, associated with the corporation. It would have to be if it's a singularity. That's my guess. I think J Corp has a singularity that's similar to an abnormality that is more or less a fortune teller, and they use that to predict the outcome of certain things, and they also monetize it by letting people use it for a fee. This is kind of interesting. I like this. I haven't really heard anything similar to this going on in the city yet. There's a lot of horribleness, but this is the kind of mundane stuff that I actually want to know. I want to know what goes on in other nests. I want to know how interesting it was to live in L Nest. Because L Corp was all associated with emotions. What the heck was going on out in our nest? I also wanted, although it's power, officially it was power. So maybe not so much like a singularity or something like that people were using. We just had a lot of power. Maybe it was like where all the Christmas lights would happen. Or we had excess power to give to the nest, so they used it in some way to like show off. There's got to be something that the people of the nest did, unless they were just like bored out of their mind and just did nothing. Like maybe apathy was so bad that they don't actually use it. And it was just in the case of gambling, because it's so ingrained into people to love to gamble or something. I don't know. But that this nest was just full of people who enjoyed this and did it all the time. I don't know. I really don't know until we read more. I won't know what's going on with it. Oh man, Eugen's page is huge, and I can't wait to read it in the next episode. So thank you so much for watching this one. Take care, and goodbye!